I got home early that Thursday. Bad traffic on Mopac had cleared for once, and as I kicked my boots off in the entry, I heard voices bouncing out of the living room on speaker. Emily's tone was careful, like she was testing ice. "What if he just agrees?" she asked. "What if he doesn't fight for me?" Kara came through like she owned the room. "Men don't let go without a fight. Tell him you're not sure you're happy. You need space. 2 days of sweat minimum." Denise added, "If he stays calm, push the big word. That always jolts them." Tasha laughed. "And record it. You'll want the drama." I stood there, hand on my lunchbox, and felt the click inside me. Not rage. Decision. Emily wanted a show about my reaction, not a conversation about our marriage. I set the lunchbox on the bench, stepped back out the door, and took a slow walk past the Oaks. 20 minutes. By the time I came back, I'd picked a lane. No pleading, no stage, no script I didn't write. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have bought popcorn. Saturday, right on schedule, she found me in the garage, where I keep a workbench and not much patience. She leaned on the doorframe like she'd rehearsed the posture. "I need space," she said. "I'm not sure I'm happy." I wiped my hands on a rag, counted to 3. "Okay," I told her. "Guest room's yours or mine?" Her head tipped. "What?" "We'll split bills proportionally for a while," I went on. "I'll move into the guest room today. I'm grabbing dinner with the guys later. You handle utilities. I'll take the mortgage. We keep things respectful and clean." "That's not," she blinked. "You're not even asking why." "I heard you," I said calmly. "Space granted. Let's run it like adults." Her mouth opened, closed. "You don't want to fix anything?" "We can talk on a schedule," I replied. "But you said you're not sure about us." "If that's true, date nights won't fix it. Respect will. I'll show it to you. You decide if you want to return it." She didn't have a line ready for that. I slid past her, carried a stack of shirts down the hall, and put them in the guest closet. When I came back, she was still in the garage, holding onto the frame as if the house had tilted. "Dinner with who?" She threw over her shoulder. "Mike and Russell," I said. "We'll watch the game. Talk about nothing. You've got your night. Enjoy it." I had no intention of fighting for a prize that didn't want to be won by talk. I was going to make the prize respect itself. Work that week was a full plate of code reviews and a late deliverable. At home, we ran the space plan with minimal friction. Dishes were handled, calendars shared but not blended, silence kept between us like a line on a blueprint. By Tuesday night, she drifted into the kitchen while I was putting leftovers into containers. "Maybe we should try a counselor," she offered. Her tone was soft enough to make a cat suspicious. "A few sessions, just to recalibrate." I looked up from the container. "We can schedule one if we're committing to honesty first." "That's what counseling is," she said. "Counseling helps people who are already telling the truth," I replied. "Otherwise, it becomes performance art." She folded her arms. "You're being cold." "I'm being clear," I answered, kept my voice even. "You asked for space. I'm giving you space and structure. If you want to talk, I'm here after 8. If you want me to chase you, wrong house." She stared at me, then sighed. "Fine. Thursday at 8. "Put it on the calendar," I said. I shelved the containers. She lingered an extra 2 beats like she expected me to fill them with apologies. I didn't. Wednesday, I got a text from Russell, our neighbor who pretends he's retired while running 2 properties like a chessboard. "You good?" Emily looked off at the mailbox. I texted back, "Running a pilot program. Results pending." Thursday at 8, right on schedule, we sat at the dining table like coworkers reviewing a scope document. She had a legal pad, which was adorable. "I feel," she began, "that you've checked out. You focus on work. You forget small things. It's lonely." I nodded. "Noted. I've also noticed you outsource relationship advice to your panel of friends. That's not small." She stiffened. "It's normal to vent. Venting is different from strategy." I cut in. "I'm not going to debate that tonight. What do you want?" She tapped the pad. "Weekend getaways. More attention. Less routine." "That's a plan for activities," I replied. "I'm asking what you want in principle. Do you want to build a life with me or star in a series about it?" She flinched, just a flicker, then looked down at her pad. "I want to feel chosen." "Then choose back," I said. "I choose with actions. You choose with tests. Those aren't compatible." She put the pen down and softened. "I'm not trying to hurt you." I let the silence do the heavy lifting. She reached across and touched my hand. Light, careful, almost tender. Okay, she murmured. Let's reset. I'll book one counseling session. We'll try. Deal. Book it, I said. And pause the commentary section of your life. We keep it between us. She nodded, a little too quickly. Done. She was kind to me for the rest of the evening. It was a mild kindness, the kind you wear like a coat while you decide if you're going back outside. I slept fine in the guest room. Friday morning, the coat was gone. Over coffee, she leaned on the counter and went for a heavier lever. Maybe we should just make the separation permanent. I took a sip. If you're not sure about this marriage, then yes, I answered. A permanent split is a fair outcome. I won't hold you here. She blinked. I watched the script slip. You're supposed to say you'll do anything. I'll do anything respectful, I corrected. I won't beg. She laughed, a sharp little burst. You're unbelievable. I'm consistent, I said, put my mug in the sink. Text me about the counseling appointment. She didn't. The silence that day had corners. At lunch, I walked down to the food trucks with Mike, a senior dev who's been through 2 marriages and treats my life like a code base he doesn't want to inherit. So she pitched permanent, he said around a taco. You handled? I told her it's an option if she's unsure. He whistled. That's going to mess with her playbook. That's the point, I said. No additions. He smirked. You gonna tell her you heard the strategy call? Not yet, I replied. Clear boundaries first. Then I'll put the tape on the table. Mike squinted. You sure you want to keep it? I want to keep respect, I answered. If it comes with the marriage, great. I spent Friday night at the gym, then got a burger with Russell, who wears advice like a faded ball cap. You look steady, he observed. Steady is scary to folks who want fireworks. I'll manage, I said. Saturday's the pivot. How so? I'm going to end the private theater, I told him. She can choose truth or not. Either way, the stage lights are coming up. Saturday morning, Emily came in hot, like she'd finally decided she missed the show. So, she started, hands on hips. Are you going to fight for us or what? I closed the email on my laptop and turned to her. We're not a prize match. You're infuriating, she said. You won't even. I heard your call on Thursday. I cut her off, plain as daylight. I heard it all. The make him sweat, the use the big word, the record the drama. She froze. The color went, then came back stronger. You listened? I walked in, I told her. Speakerphone. Walls aren't deaf. That's a violation, she snapped. What you did to our marriage is a violation, I answered evenly. You turned us into content. You wanted leverage, not clarity. That ends today. She swallowed. So what, you're leaving? No, I said. I'm changing the rules. Completely. We're done with secret tests. We're done with third-party scripts. If there's something broken, we either fix it honestly or we part ways like adults. No performance. She paced, then stopped. You can't just make new rules. I can make rules for my life, I replied. Here's the first. We're taking this out of the dark. Kara's dinner is tonight. We're going. I'm going to describe exactly what I heard, without insults or theater, in front of the people who coached you. Then I'm going to lay out my conditions for continuing. You can accept or decline. Her mouth fell open. You wouldn't. I would, I said. Bring your courage. Leave the script. She shot me a look that used to win arguments when I still played fair. You'll embarrass me. No, I corrected. I'll remove the mask. What happens to your image after that is between you and your choices. She pushed out a laugh, brittle. You're punishing me. I'm holding a mirror, I said, and closed the laptop. We leave at 6. She didn't talk to me the rest of the afternoon. She moved through the house like a weather front, opening and closing cabinets, starting and stopping tasks, trying to retake airspace. At 5, she reappeared in a dress and makeup that said she still believed in persuasion by optics. You look nice, I told her. She stared hard. You don't have to do this. We have to do exactly this, I answered, grabbed my keys, and we drove west. Kara's place sits in the hills, the kind of layout that announces curated lives. 2 couples were already there, Kara and her husband Nate, who's the kind of guy who does well in a boardroom and freezes in a kitchen. Denise and Victor, solid and serious. Then Tasha arrived with Lila, who tends to watch first and comment second. The smell of roasted chicken filled the space. The living room buzzed, the way social rooms do when everyone's auditioning for a version of themselves. Kara came in for a hug like nothing was new. Emily, you look amazing. Dan, You made it. On time, I said, and let them herd us into the ring. We did small talk about property taxes and the heat. Nate poured wine. I took sparkling water. Emily and Kara traded those little coded smiles women use when they think they're shooting a scene. I let it play for 10 minutes. Then I set my glass down on the coffee table and decided that was enough pretending. I'd like 5 minutes, I said to the room. Group topic. Kara laughed lightly. Oh no, is this about the Longhorns again? It's about marriage, I said. Specifically ours. The space shifted. Victor adjusted his glasses. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Emily stiffened beside me. Thursday at 5:30. I began. I came home early and heard Emily on speaker with you three. I heard a plan, stage a pause, forbid hints, escalate to a certain legal word if I stayed calm, and record the fallout for entertainment. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal activity. I'm pointing out what happened. Silence. You could hear the air conditioning working. Kara's smile faltered. That's not exactly. Did you advise a stage separation? I asked her. She looked at Emily, then back to me. We were supporting a friend. By telling her to lie to her husband, I said it straight, not loud. Denise held up her hands. Sometimes people need a jolt. People need honesty, I replied. Not theater. Tasha set her glass down. I told her to record for her own clarity, she said carefully. To remember what was said. You told her to record for drama, I corrected. Your word, not mine. Lila spoke up for the first time, voice quiet but precise. Is this true? Emily's eyes were on the floor. We were talking, she muttered. I was upset. Victor, who usually avoids conflict like it's contagious, surprised me. Kara, he said, his tone flat. Did you tell her to push the big word if he didn't react? Kara fumbled. It was the figure of speech. Okay. Nate jumped in, looking at me. What's your aim here, Dan? Transparency, I answered. I respect my wife enough to talk about our life in daylight. I won't keep a secret performance running behind a closed door. Kara attempted a pivot. You're humiliating her. I'm giving her a chance to stop humiliating herself, I said. And me. And our marriage. Emily finally looked up at me, eyes glossy and angry. Happy, she snapped, voice low. You made your point? Not yet, I answered. Here are my conditions if we continue. 1. In contact with the three of you. No calls, no texts, no subtle back channel. If you want to be in our business, become licensed therapists and we'll book you. 2. We start with a real counselor next week. I'll pay. I'll show up. I'll do the work. 3. Absolute transparency about the sources you're using for relationship advice until trust is rebuilt. 4. Any future test ends this marriage the same day. No more additions. Kara scoffed. That's controlling. That's boundaries, I corrected. Control is telling your friend to pull strings to make a man dance. Boundaries are me choosing not to be a puppet. Denise leaned back. This is the lot. It's simple, I said. If Emily wants to be married to me, she'll close the show and open the life. If not, I'll respect her choice and sign whatever makes it clean. The room held its breath. Tasha looked at Emily with something like pity. Nate stared at the rug. Victor shook his head slightly, the way you do when you recognize a formula you don't like. Kara's jaw tightened. She'd lost the director's chair, and she knew it. Emily cleared her throat. Can we talk outside? She asked me. I shook my head. No. We started it here. We finish it here. These are your coaches. They can handle the scoreboard. She swallowed. Fine, she said. Fine. I'll cut it off. We'll see a counselor. I'll stop the tests. Kara reached for her. You don't have to. Emily pulled her arm away without looking. I do, she said. I'm done. It didn't sound like bravery. It sounded like she had finally weighed her audience against her marriage and picked one. We ate chicken. Nobody tasted it. The conversation stayed small and brittle. When we left, the night air felt cleaner than it had in months. In the car, Emily's voice was hoarse. You humiliated me, she said. I told the truth, I answered. And I protected us from a future of lies. She stared out the window. I'll call them tomorrow. You'll call them tonight, I corrected. On speaker. She didn't argue. At home, she stood in the kitchen, put her phone on the counter, and made 3 calls with hands that shook. Kara tried to argue. Denise tried to soothe. Tasha tried to keep dignity. Emily repeated a simple line. We won't be in touch anymore. She hung up each time like she was setting down a hot pan. When the last call ended, she looked at me, all polish gone. Is that enough? It's a start, I said. Next is counseling. I'll schedule. And we'll build trust with small, boring actions. No more stunts. She nodded once and walked down the hall. For the first time all week, I slept like someone had closed a window in a storm. The counselor's office had neutral chairs and a clock that didn't scold you for checking it. On the first day, the therapist asked what brought us in. Emily looked at me like she expected me to present the case. I didn't. I waited. She finally said, I made something worse that was already fragile. I need to learn to ask for what I want without schemes. It was a decent start. The counselor worked more than she talked. She assigned simple tasks, 5-minute check-ins without fixing, a daily gratitude text, 1 question a day that wasn't logistical. I treated it like rehab for communication. Emily stuttered at first. Twice she slipped into little jabs about my schedule, then caught herself and rewrote the sentence. Progress is boring. That's how you know it's real. By Wednesday, the quiet between us was different. Not cold, empty, like a room waiting for actual furniture. She made dinner without waiting for me. I washed pans and didn't narrate it. We spoke in clear sentences about who would handle what bill. She tried on kindness again, lighter this time, not as a costume, but as a test drive. Want to take a walk? She asked after the dishes one night. I've got to review a module with a junior, I said. Tomorrow. She nodded, a little surprised that I didn't jump because she finally offered something gentle. That's the point of boundaries. The old hunger doesn't move you. Thursday, she showed up in my office while I closed my laptop. She had a small box. Inside was a basic digital recorder. She set it on the desk. I bought this a while back, she said. Stupid impulse. For what you know. I never used it. Toss it. Destroy it, I said and stood. She followed me to the trash bin in the garage. I cracked it against the side until it came apart, then dumped it. We didn't say anything for 10 seconds. Thank you, she managed. Keep going, I replied. Words later. Actions first. She nodded and went back in. That was her second softening. The grand gesture, the dramatic surrender. It was better than the first, but I still filed it under tools she picked after losing leverage. Tools can be dangerous even when disarmed. Friday afternoon she texted me. Maybe we should skip the counselor today and just do dinner? I answered, counselor at 5. Dinner after. She didn't reply. At 5 she showed up and did the work. We went to a taco place after, sitting outside. A teenage busser spilled water near our feet and apologized like he'd bumped a judge. Emily handed him napkins without making a face. Small thing, new tone. You're different, she said to me across the table, not accusing this time. Calmer. But you don't chase me anymore. I'm not a dog, I replied dryly. I'm your husband. That role has requirements. Respect is one. She half smiled, like she was relearning the person she married. I thought if I kept the pressure on, you'd step up. I step up for partnership, I said. Not for pressure. Pressure makes diamonds and rocks. It crushes people. Saturday morning, I did a thing I'd been putting off. I canceled 2 of the social events we always went to because Emily liked being seen there. I texted the hosts myself, short and polite, taking a break from group nights to focus on us. See you around. That's a boundary you can hold in your hand. I told Emily after the messages were sent. You canceled without asking me? She snapped. I did, I said. We're cutting any habit that rewards performance. If that bothers you, note it. We can revisit in a month. She held my eyes, then looked away. Okay. Later that day, via a mutual friend's post I didn't seek out, I learned Kara had hosted a small gathering and floated a narrative about me being controlling. Half the comments were nothing. 1 or 2 were knives and paper sleeves. I said nothing, but I did add a rule. Another thing, I told Emily that evening. I'm stepping off your friends' web pages. If they mention me or us, I don't want to know. If you bring that energy into our home, I'll treat it like a test. She surprised me. I muted them already, she said. And I blocked the numbers. They tried to apologize today. I'm done. Good, I said. Keep it done. She showed me her phone, not as a plea but as a receipt. Blocks applied. For once, it didn't feel like a show. It felt like she was tired of directing. Point of no return came 2 weeks later at a brunch we didn't cancel, Russell's backyard, a few neighbors, easy food. He does casual better than most. The sun wasn't cruel yet. People were relaxed enough to say true things. Kara arrived anyway. I hadn't known she'd been invited. She came with an apology tray and a face that wanted to reclaim ground. When she saw us, her eyebrows tried to command history back into order. Dan, she began in the tone hostesses use with children, I've been mischaracterized. We were helping. You were interfering, I said calmly. We're past it. Emily stood beside me. Kara switched targets. She pressed. You don't have to live under rules. This is extreme. Emily didn't look at her. I'm good. Kara wasn't done. He said you couldn't talk to us. That's textbook. I cut in. She agreed to my conditions. If she didn't, we wouldn't be speaking in a backyard about it. We'd be mailing keys. A couple heads turned our way. Russell, who hears more than he says, stepped closer, not to defend me, to enforce community boundaries like he always does. Kara, he said mildly, we don't do scenes here. Kara bristled. I'm protecting my friend. By keeping her on a leash, Russell replied. Cut it loose. Victor, who'd wandered in late, heard enough to finish his own story. He looked at Kara with old frustration. You can't coach marriages like football. Sit down. She stared at him. Something in her mouth curled, then flattened. She put the tray on a table and walked away, not dramatically, just finally. People went back to their food. Emily exhaled like she'd been holding a plank for 2 minutes and was allowed to set it down. We done with public tests now? I asked her quietly. Yes, she answered. Completely. Then let's go home early, I said. I've got shelves to organize. She laughed once, real and small. Unromantic. It's how adults flirt, I said, and Russell caught my eye and nodded, one adult to another. We left with 2 paper plates of fruit in a neighborhood that still liked us. I put the fruit in the fridge and the plates in the sink. Emily stood there like she wanted to say something important and simple and couldn't decide which word came first. She set it down instead. I booked next week's counselor already, she said. And the week after. Good, I replied. Keep booking. We're not done learning. We weren't. But we'd stopped pretending. That's the part that mattered. Months rolled. We did the boring reps. She told the truth even when it made her smaller in the story. I answered without gloating. We stopped measuring who reached out more and started measuring how we spoke. She caught herself before a test and admitted the urge out loud. I canceled fewer gatherings because she stopped needing rooms as mirrors. I moved back into our bedroom after we both agreed to treat it like a home and not a stage. The recorder stayed shattered in the trash, and the part of Emily that liked to hold things over my head went quiet from disuse. One night in late fall, I came home to a house that smelled like cinnamon and not tension. She'd made chili, heavy on beans, light on spectacle. She slid a bowl over and sat with me, elbows on the table like we were 28 again and broke, planning our first cross-country trip instead of our next argument. You know, she said, I wanted a big display. I wanted to feel like I was the only thing in the room. You were, I replied. You just didn't trust it without an audience. She looked at the steam rising between us. I do now. That's because you learned the cost, I said. So did I. We ate, and it tasted like calm. I won't sell you a fairy tale. We're not suddenly perfect. I still work long hours. She still likes attention. Humans don't come with updates. They come with choices. But the tests are gone because they stopped paying. The friends who egged them on faded into a list of contacts we don't scroll. The counselor earned her fee by forcing 2 clever people to tell the truth without cleverness. 5 of my rules stayed. They're simple. No secret scripts. No outside directors. No recording arguments. Private problems get solved in private, unless dishonesty forces daylight. And if either of us stages another test, we don't negotiate the consequences. We close the door. Emily keeps the same conditions on me, by the way. She demanded them once she saw they worked. That's how grown-ups do parody. 6 months out, the house is quieter, which drives some people nuts. For me, quiet is the sound of respect settling. I bought a used pickup I'd been eyeing for years, not as a midlife cliche, but because I wanted it and didn't ask permission. We took a short trip to Big Bend and didn't post a single photo. At work, my team shipped a release ahead of schedule because I finally stopped trying to win at home with overtime. On Saturdays, Russell and I rebuild a grill because hands need tasks. Sundays, Emily and I go for a run and talk about meals and mortgages and why the dog across the street thinks he's the mayor. Kara still hosts things. We're not invited. That's not a loss. Victor grabbed a beer with me once and apologized for not pushing back sooner. I told him not to apologize to me for someone else's hobby. He laughed and said he wished he had my spine. I told him it wasn't spine. It was patience plus a line. That line saved my marriage. Or maybe it killed the version that needed killing. Either way, I'm not sorry. People love to say a man should fight for love. They picture grand gestures. They picture apologies with flowers and overtime promises and public speeches. Here's the truth. You don't fight for love. You fight for respect. If you win that, love keeps up. If you lose it, love becomes a prop. When Emily asked for a performance, I retired from theater. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I moved to the guest room, split the bills, canceled the noise, and took the show on the road where it couldn't hide. She had to pick between the crowd and the life. She picked the life. If she hadn't, I'd be fine. I was already living like someone who knew his worth. I still am. That's the lesson I'd hand any man over a beer. Don't chase chaos. Don't audition for your own house. Set your rules. Enforce them with your actions. Let people self-select. You'll either keep the marriage and lose the nonsense, or you'll keep your dignity